Terry White, hereafter known as Big Bwana, invited 5 friends on a bow hunting extravaganza in Zimbabwe and Zambia in August of 1997 and 1998. Our destinations were 2 fabulous properties developed for the propagation of game by Paul Tudor Jones. These films show our trip to his fabulous home, Bamashana, our Mardi Gras ball, and a host of wild animals we saw while hunting. Our flight over was 17 hours in duration. We landed in Johannesburg, South Africa, and drove 45 minutes to Pretoria, South Africa, where Dennis McDonald got a new wardrobe, having lost his first one coming over. We spent the night at the lovely Manor House Hotel, in which we were the only guest. And we found out why. The hotel was next to the U.S. Embassy. The U.S. embassies in Nairobi, Kenya, and Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, had been bombed the week before. That creates vacancies every time.
3 more films that will never be seen again.
Next morning, we boarded the fabulous Blue Train at Pretoria Station that will take us to Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe. The trip will take 2.5 days. The train is a magnificent old restored train that ran from Cape Town to Johannesburg from 1945 to 1996. In 96, a new route was opened from Pretoria to Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe. None other than Nelson Mandela cut the ribbon and heralded this as one of the greatest days in the history of African terrorism. I mean tourism. Hey, we hope this would only be a slip of the tongue. The middle of the second day, we disembarked for a 5-hour side trip in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, to visit the farms and final resting place of Cecil John Rhodes. The countries of Zimbabwe and Zambia once carried his name, Rhodesia. Note the prehistoric cave paintings.
What are you drinking, Ange?
Hot chocolate, I heard hot.
Hot chocolate?
Hot chocolate with a little rum. Put vodka in there.
The accommodations, food, and spirits were that of a 5-star restaurant. The only disappointment, the scenery. Much of the trip went through agricultural lands where the natives have cattle or crops. They have totally wiped out the wildlife. The train pulled into Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe the next morning about an hour late. Then we sat on the track at the station forever. We were supposed to view the falls, which are twice the size of Niagara Falls, from the train, but there's a problem. Finally, an elderly Englishman came along and announced there's a petrol leak under the train, and I feel we are all in the gravest of danger. You should plan to evacuate the train immediately. Well, that was all it took for most of us. We pitched our things off the train and jumped to the platform behind them. Bwana Jack was first off the train and then had to beg Poco to go back on board and recover half the things he left on board.
It's been total pandemonium getting off the train. After 2 days of total rest and relaxation, Jack had everybody worked up into a veritable frenzy. Because some seasoned train man came up and said, "Abandon ship."
We were sitting there minding our business, telling a couple of good old war stories, when a guy comes up and he said, "Gentlemen, excuse me,
But I'm an experienced railroad man, and I can tell you that we're under the gravest of danger.
The big Buana Terry had a light plane piloted by a light woman ready to fly us 2.5 hours to Malongwe, Paul Jones' incomparable paradise in Africa. Unfortunately, PMS Airlines refused to fly our baggage, so we grabbed our bows and arrows and off we went. The bags ended up catching up with us 2.5 days later. We couldn't wait to see the animals. In Zimbabwe, water is a scarcity in August. Water holes are maintained throughout the property, and sunken blinds are dug at many of these. These films of warthogs and impala were taken from these blinds. The animals are totally unaware there is anyone in the blind. Warthogs are one of the most common of the animals, and they would be seen by the hunters daily. They are great table fare, and one with a large set of tusks, it's a great bow trophy. In 1997, we each took a fine specimen with our bows. The largest had tusks in excess of 14 inches and was the 4th largest ever killed by bow and arrow. In 1998, the biggest we encountered were only 8 inches and 9 inches, so none were shot. The impala are so numerous that they must be culled so they don't deplete all the grass in the area. At the request of the game conservation officer, we all enjoyed taking a few of the impala. Their horns ranged in length from 19 inches to 22 inches and made fine trophies. The meat is a true delicacy and was much appreciated by both the hunters and the natives. These animals are at a distance of 25 to 50 yards from our blind. The greater kudu is one of the great successes of modern Africa. In the 1950s, Ernest Hemingway and Robert Ruark wrote of the great elusive and scarce kudus as being Africa's #1 prize. In the last 50 years, due to diligent stewardship and the fact there is no great value to the animal parts, they have become commonplace. In fact, all 6 of us have taken greater kudus with horns in excess of 50 inches each. These animals weigh in excess of 700 pounds and are extremely wary. It is not uncommon to have them stand off at a distance of 200 yards for hours at a time and then turn and walk away. For an archer, the shot needs to be in the 20 to 40 yard range.
Good shot. Good shot. You get in the shoulder. Good shot. It was in the shoulder. Good shoulder. Good shot. Watch this. That thing's dead. That thing's dead. Good God, Billy. Right in the heart. Wait, 4 hours. Wait, now tell the story, bro. Don't tell it too loud, but tell the story now, guys. I'm too excited. My heart is rumbling out. Tell the story. This bull came in 3.5 hours ago. Came down, got spooked, moved out, stood around for a while. Came down about 30 minutes later, got smoked. Took off, we couldn't see him anymore. Three other bulls came in about an hour and a half later. He came in with them, but then he got smoked again, turned around, went out again. And we've just been watching him. It's taken him over an hour since we've seen him the last time to come in. Took a long time. Luckily for us, there were some baboons giving him a little bit of trouble in the water. And he turned and Billy gave him one right through the heart.
At what distance?
38 meters.
38?
Exactly 38.
38 yards.
38 yards. 38 yards. Perfect shot.
The 2 kudus that Parker and Billy are shown with are both top trophies, one with horns of 57 inches and the other with 54-inch horns. As this film is being made, their wives are eagerly redecorating their homes in anticipation of the heads arriving. Both zebra and wildebeest come to water holes, and over the course of a 2-week safari, they'll be seen in large numbers. The zebra in this part of Africa is of the Burchell variety. While they are mostly black and white, you'll notice a faint brown stripe known as a shadow stripe, which runs between the 2 stripes. We have all brought home a zebra, and the rugs they make are truly beautiful. As in all species of game in Africa, only the males are killed. One male will service a large number of females, therefore, old males are expendable. The members of the Limpopo Six can sympathize with these old boys. The zebra that was shot in this film was at a distance of 42 yards. The wildebeest are of the blue variety in Zimbabwe and the Cookson variety in Zambia. The big male pictured here with the three zebras was an absolute monster with horns of 33 inches to 34 inches spread. Probably a world record for the species. Unfortunately, Bwana Jack, who was in the blind at the time, had killed one the day before, and that was his quota. Any animal that size would probably weigh around 900 pounds, and the zebra about 700 pounds. When you kill one of these big animals, there is much rejoicing in the village. Meat is a very precious commodity in the African bush. Our return to Paul Jones' home is with a high level of curiosity. These videos show the site that Paul has chosen to build his lodge and guest cottages. The name Pamashana means place of the sun, and on top of a high rocky kopje overlooking a 400-acre lake, the lodge was perfectly named. On our first visit in August 1997, work had just begun, and we were stunned by the huge workforce of almost 200 men on the job. By April of 1998, the crew numbered 600 workers, and the incredible lodge was completed in May 1998, 1 year after construction had commenced. The architects were from South Africa, and a few of the specialists were brought in from many other parts of Africa, but most of the workers came from the immediate area. In a country whose economy is in the deep doldrums, the construction of Pamashana was a godsend. The main lodge is incredible. The focal point is a beautiful reflection pool that goes to the edge of the cliff. The living room is open air with the heavy thatched roof supported by posts that have been decorated with mosaic tiles. A floor below is the dining room. Depending on weather, one can dine in the open air veranda overlooking the lake or go into the enclosed dining room. The wonderful mural in the dining room is lit by a chandelier that incorporates ostrich eggs with light bulbs inside. Each guest cottage had 2 bedrooms and 2 baths. The baths had hot tubs, showers, and conventional tubs. The bedrooms have twin beds with mosquito netting. The floors were of local tile. The walls of exquisite handmade bricks laid in intricate patterns, and thatched roofs supported by great hardwood posts from the local forest. Paul has opened the lodge to the public, and game viewing has become a daily occurrence. Safaris are limited to a couple of years, so the game is soaring. Private game management for hunting and viewing is the only chance for Africa's great game herds to survive. Africa's most exciting moment involves dangerous game. The Big Five: the elephant, the rhino, the Cape buffalo, the leopard, and the lion. These 5 are the epitome of Africa. The rush that comes over a hunter when confronted by one of the Big Five is indescribable. Zimbabwe allows the taking of the Big Five by gun only. The caliber must be .375 or bigger. For those of us who enjoy bow hunting, this is somewhat of a disappointment. Bwana Jack and professional hunter Adrian Carr stalked into the middle of a herd of 100 buffaloes. You see head tracker Shorty cover his eyes. He has seen Bwana Jack in action before. This time, Bwana Jack prevails and kills a fine old buffalo.
Look up, Poco. You did it.
Oh, yes.
You rolled him over. Congratulations.
Thanks, Deke. I didn't think this would ever happen, my boy. I'm not kidding either.
How do you feel?
I feel terrific.
The two buffalo that you see Buana Poco and Buana Dennis with are both fine, fully matured specimens. Each animal weighed about 2,000 pounds and were approximately 15 years of age. They had been run off from the herd and would soon be lion bait. In fact, if Poco hadn't killed his buffalo when he did, he would have been lion bait. This was the end of his third 20-mile hike day. In 1997, we had one of the most incredible highlights. Parker LaCorn stalked the Cape Buffalo with his bow in Zambia for a full week. In Zambia, if you're crazy enough to try it, have at it. Parker stalked up 20 miles a day trying to get a shot. And finally, our last morning arrived, and while the rest of us packed, Parker gave it one more chance. We had to leave at 11 a.m., and a few minutes before 11, Parker rolled in with a huge Cape Buffalo killed with a single arrow at 30 yards. The 1,250 grain arrow had been shot with a 90-pound pull bow. The buffalo only went 200 yards.
Adrian, we've been following these things all week, and they are tough to get up on. But you've got great trackers and great pH, and we got a shot this morning, last morning of the trip.
And what a shot.
It may not have been a pretty shot ever, but it worked somehow. I'll tell you, these are KG animals.
Chisote of Jackson. Yeah, that's better.
Yellow hat.
The famous yellow hat.
One of the most beautiful of the African antelope is the Nyala. Looking part antelope and part goat, they are one of the most elusive of our trophies. In the 2 years we've been going, only one permit has been available. Parker was able to collect this beautiful specimen after an all-day stalk along the banks of the Cherezi River. The beautiful spiraled horns measured 26 inches in length, and the meat is incomparable.
We chased the buffalo all morning long. Finally decided we'd give him a break, see if we might be able to run across a Nyala. And lo and behold, that's what we've done. And this guy was unlucky today.
What weighs 1,800 pounds and can jump an 8-foot-high fence? The answer isn't 8 inmates from Parish Prison. It's the eland, Africa's largest antelope. The eland, like the Nyala, is extremely wary, but in 1998, we saw many more than we had in 1997. This is more proof positive of the success of Paul Jones Conservation and the controlled hunting that is allowed on Malongwe. Buana Parker took his bull eland on a stalk the last morning of the hunt, reminiscent of his buffalo hunt the year before. Buana Jack killed his eland while hunting with Dennis McDonald and P.H. Allen Davies. The trio had gotten 2 shots that day. Dennis had killed a Cape Buffalo with 1 shot from a .375 H&H rifle in the morning, and Jack and eland with 1 shot from his bow in the afternoon. 2 shots and 4,000 pounds of meat. They were king of the hill that night. The excitement of Africa is always right around the corner. The variety of game is incredible. Giraffe are incredibly awkward, but the power in those hind legs make an adult giraffe prey to no one. Note the way they spread their legs to get a drink, reminiscent of Buena Dennis. Ostrich have been a large export item for the Africans since the 1880s. Eggs gathered in the wild are hatched in captivity, and the chicks are easy to domesticate. Hippopotamus probably kill more natives than any animal in Africa. Although not carnivorous, the bad-tempered hippos will crush local fishermen who enter their domain. There is no short supply of hippos, but if the local fishermen had their way, they'd be extinct. Jackal are the twin to the American coyote. Unlike the hyena, he is only a hunter of rodents and a scavenger. Mongoose. These mink-like creatures come in a number of different species. This is the common mongoose, and we quite often see the banded mongoose. Baboons will no doubt take over Africa someday. We see them by the thousands, and because of their sharp eyesight, do the best we can to hide from them. Once alarmed, they'll sit in a tree a few hundred yards away, screaming alert to all the other animals. Sort of Greenpeace in a fur coat. Crocodile were not terribly numerous on the last 2 safaris. This medium-sized guy was filmed on the Luanga River in Zambia. However, our friend Howard was able to bag a good one with the use of live bait. Live bait isn't always easy to come by. The native had to have a lot of confidence in Howard's skill.
Mimi and Doka and Goja, Katika Mipi, Kuya Makuba Mamba, Mamoja Mashele Nauto, and Deobuana.
Howard used a special arrow that had a harpoon-type head. An airplane cable was attached to the arrow so that Howard could recover the crocodile. The cable was tied to the limb of a tree. Shot, but he was so intent on the thrashing crocodile that he forgot the unreeling cable. Look out, Howard. Here he comes. A perfect shot. Dove are as numerous in Africa as they are in Argentina. Every year we take off an afternoon, go to a water hole, and shoot dove, guinea fowl, sand grouse, and francolin. The doves look identical in size and color to our American birds. One big difference, while our birds are a delicacy, their African cousins are tough as shoe leather.
I caught a hunter. More than you can carry. Hand into the bag, sort of a
There you go, look at
Walt
this.
Disney shot.
Water buck have been reintroduced to Malongwe in recent years. These are cows and calves. The males grow quite large, 500 pounds or so, and grow impressive horns in the 26-inch to 30-inch class. The ring around the rear end is not a target for a bow hunter. While snakes are rarely seen, those that we do encounter are usually one-steppers. One step after being bitten, and you join the great safari in the sky. This python was killed in a fire. Now, the locals liked these snakes and were quite upset by its death. Other snakes encountered are black mamba, spitting cobra, and puff adders. Because they usually don't come into water holes, we don't have any film of a Limpopo bushbuck. The small 100-pound antelope is a much coveted trophy. We show Buana Dennis with a new world record with a bow and arrow. Terry has killed a Super Cho bushbuck in Zambia. Sable antelope ranked right at the top of Africa's most sought-after animal. The big males will weigh 600 pounds and have horns over 40 inches in length. The Limpopo 6 has but few talents other than bow hunting. However, we do possess some experience in organizing Mardi Gras balls. There is very little footage of the inaugural crew of Limp. This is probably just as well.
Hail the king! Hail the queen! And they won!
What we do see here is King Poco and Queen Joan in the Grand March. They are followed by the first and only maid Hilda Licorne.
In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight.
No animal epitomizes Africa more than the lion. The cattle farmers have culled the lions in the Malongwe area down so low that Paul does not allow them to be hunted. However, in Zambia, there is a good lion population, and Terry was able to get a permit to hunt one with his bow. After spending the night in a tree hoping the lions would return to the scene of a kill, a call for help went out. The lion had been wounded. Please bring in reinforcements. We arrive, and Terry is holding a dead civet cat. We were furious.
I mean, you've come all this way to see this.
Then they uncover the real cat, a huge male lion.
Oh, no. I'll tell you what.
Terry describes the shot at dawn. The big male returns following a female and a smaller male. At 22 yards, he presents a side shot.
Oh, Nelly.
Terry makes the perfect shot, and the king of beasts runs 20 yards and dies. We go nuts. Pictures of all of us are taken. Then the lion is loaded in the Land Rover, and off they go with the natives singing a song praising Buana Terry. When we return home, the lion is measured and scored. He is in a first-place tie for the biggest lion ever killed with a bow and arrow. The previous record was held by Fred Bear and was killed in 1964.
What is that? Isn't the best I ever saw. That is fantastic.
In closing, we want to explain the sad side of Africa. The once proud sight of rhino and elephants throughout most of Africa is almost gone. These rhinos were purchased by Paul, their horns removed, therefore taking away their value to a poacher. Paul hopes by giving them protection, he can reestablish them in places like Malongwe, where they were once indigenous. Black rhino now number less than 5,000 in all of Africa. You know, as recently as 1960, the population was estimated at 700,000. The elephant is almost in as bad a shape. You'll notice most of the elephants pictured are tuskless or very poor ivory. You'll also notice that most of them are very bad-tempered. At the first whiff of guana, he's apt to charge. When the ears go out, you better be in high gear. Where's the killing coming from? Easy, the Orient. The end user is the biggest culprit. The rhino horns, for example, bring tens of thousands of dollars to be used as an aphrodisiac. The elephant's ivory brings hundreds of dollars a pound. A good set of tusk, 120 pounds. Bingo! More than the average native will earn in the entire year. So back to the other end of the problem. The African native until the civil wars of the 1970s in Rhodesia, Angola, Somalia, had no weapons that could kill elephants and rhino effectively. Then along came the AK-47s and communist army training, and you have instant poachers. Couple with this, a local government who not only turns its head, but has their hand out as well, and the great creatures will soon be as common as the passenger pigeon. Is there hope? You have to hope so. If the Africans can be taught that an elephant's real value is tourism, then there is hope. There are very few Paul Jones in Africa, and the clock is ticking faster and faster.